And hello everyone, Richard Cobrathwaite for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us as we get ever closer to town meeting day on March 6th. And we're happy to have on the set the two candidates for St. Albans City Clerk Treasurer. To my left, Roque. Asia, nice to see you. Thanks for coming on. And Galloway. Nice to meet you folks.
Nice to meet you.
And again, you folks, of course, the one contest in St. Albans City is right here. Susan Krupp, of course, the longtime City Clerk Treasurer, not running for re-election, so the two candidates have jumped into the race here. Asia, give us a little background. Tell us about yourself.
I was born in Burlington. I've lived in Franklin County my whole life. I attended Champlain College down in Burlington and got my bachelor's in accounting. I worked for a nonprofit doing financial counseling, bankruptcy counseling, just anything financial related. I would help people with. So, and then I started working for a payroll software company as the tax and compliance specialist. So any new taxes, changes in the laws, the rates, everything like that goes through my department. So that's what I've been doing for the past 4 years.
Interesting. And of course you're a St. Albans City resident, as I guess you have to be to run for the job.
Yep, lived here about 2 years now.
Yeah.
I lived here previously for like 4 years. Then I moved back home for college and ended up back here.
So it might be worth noting your mother, of course, knows this business a bit.
Yeah, the family business.
Longtime assistant clerk in St. Albans town.
Yep, Lisa Roque down in the town.
Right.
So that's what made me interested in this to begin with.
Interesting.
So, yep.
Curry, tell us about yourself.
Sure, I have a background in criminal justice. I've been in the city for about 3 years now. I was down in Boston for the past 5 years working in commercial real estate. For them, I assisted with all their assets and did accounting transitions, property assistant managing, things like that, for some beautiful, beautiful buildings down there. And then I decided I wanted to have my fresh, wonderful start for a life here in St. Albans City. I loved the community, and I live in one of the beautiful historic buildings here, and it's just been wonderful working under the umbrella of the city at the Restorative Justice Center. I worked there for about 2 years. So I did get to know a lot of the folks down at City Hall, so that's been great. And currently I'm working on a master's in public administration down at the University of Vermont. But yeah, so I moved back up here to just really start a great life and get into the outdoors. Interesting.
So what interests you about the job? Why would you like the job of City Clerk Treasurer?
Sure. So City Clerk Treasurer, I think it's kind of a really special position because it's the most visible elected official position. You know, there's the mayor, of course, but day-to-day basis, people are coming in and out, you know, with different kinds of questions, different kinds of problems, and I have about 15 years of administrative experience, and a lot of that experience in itself really focuses on triage. So I'm that first line of defense, like where do I go, what do I do? And in that capacity, I've also learned a lot of archive management and records management, and dealing with those soft skills, working with customer service and the public. So handling those, the deeds, the property, anything to do with, you know, the real estate, I really do thrive on that sort of thing, and really managing those records and making sure that elections are going well. It's really fascinating taking local government classes now down at the university, and just learning each individual's role within the city and what local government has to offer everyone in the community and how we can participate.
And Asia, how, again, we mentioned your mother who knows this line of work very well. How'd you happen to run? Why'd you decide to run for these dual offices?
I've always been interested in it. In high school, we had the community service requirement, so I did my service down at the town hall and helped out for a couple of days down there. That's probably where my interest started. I help my mom at the rabies clinics doing dog licenses and stuff like that, so I just think it's really interesting to be a part of the community and make your best effort to improve whatever you can, whether it's, you know, somebody just coming in for a research, you know, and making that as easy as you can for them, and the elections, and make sure everything runs smoothly, and it's
Interesting. And you folks are just meeting each other for the first time. That's right. You're surprised again with an open seat with Susan Krupp not running again. Are you surprised that more candidates didn't jump into this race, Curry, or any thoughts on that?
You know, I was a little bit surprised. I kind of did expect, because she had run for so long and really made an impact and kind of set a lot of precedent as to, you know, what it looks like to really run that section really well. And it is really exciting, you know, what you can do as a city clerk and treasurer. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised, but I look forward to, you know, the whole election in itself. So. Yeah. And
yourself, Aisha, did you think, to the extent you thought about it, do you think more candidates might have jumped into the race with again with an open seat?
Yep.
I guess from your point of view, probably. Well, who knows? Hard to predict how things work out.
There's just so many people. You know, I would expect more than two, but whatever.
And Curry, you know Susan Trahan, the longtime assistant for Susan Krupp. Susan Trahan's been on board almost since day one for Susan Krupp. She's the assistant. Town clerk, assistant city clerk treasurer. If you were elected, any thoughts? Do you think you'd be inclined to keep her on board, or is that just way too soon to think about stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sue Trahan is a really impressive individual. I think she has a lot of energy. She's very positive and motivating as well. So the way that office is set up, we're literally sitting right with each other, you know, so knowing that I would have Sue supporting me, because nobody really knows what it's like to be a city clerk in essence. So to have her knowledge base supporting me if I were to be elected would be something that I would really value. So yeah, I think that it would be really great to work with her.
Yeah, Aisha, again, same question. I think you said you don't really know Susan Trahan.
Yeah,
so.
I've never met her. I'd be open to it, you know, because it would be very beneficial to have somebody who knows exactly what they're doing already. It'd be interesting to talk to her about it. I've never met her, so I've got a couple people in mind for the position if it works out. So, yeah.
What about kind of a low, fear to call this, Curry, a low-profile race, or you tell me, or tell me about campaigning. I've run across a few of your flyers around town, but how are you going about campaigning for the office?
Yeah, well, you know, I did a lot of internet research on how to actually campaign. I've never done any kind of campaigning before.
So this is the first time you've run for office?
It is, it is.
Is it the same for yourself? Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple of political newcomers. Okay.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I have some signs out, but this weather is so bananas. It's being very Vermonty right now and different every day. So, you know, just that exposure is great. And, you know, I think through social media, I think people really are interested in local government and running for, you know, their districts and, you know, their school boards. So I think that people, even though it's, you know, a smaller kind of position, I think people will still really get involved with it, because I think through social media, people are really finding out how they can contribute and, you know, add to movements and add to any kind of change.
So social media is definitely a big part of the campaign, kind of, would you say?
I think so. I try to think about what I use and how I get my information, and you know, I have been using a lot of social media, and there's been a lot of, you know, support. So I think that that might inspire other people to run for positions. It's something I've wanted to do for a while, but you know, didn't think, oh, maybe I should do that. But it's really possible and really exciting.
Aisha, what about yourself? How are you going about campaigning for this office or these offices?
I've got the social media post. That was pretty much the first thing that I did, and I'm going to do a flyer mailing in the next couple weeks, so people can expect to see that in their messenger. And then other than that, just talking to people, anybody I run into that I know, and things like that in the city, just talking myself up.
Yeah, well, certainly appreciate both you folks coming on Northwest Access TV, a good chance for some people to get to know you a bit. So, again, as far as the office runs, have you got, again, you certainly have a feel for the office with your mother in St. Albans town. As far as what you're running into, do you feel like you know what you're getting into?
I think
Should you be elected?
Yeah.
And you're not overwhelmed by that, I assume?
It's not so much overwhelming. I'm extremely excited for the opportunity. I think it'll be a challenge for sure. It's not like anything I've ever done in the past, but I'm a fast learner. I kind of know the drill with it. Not entirely, but I'm familiar with the day-to-day aspects of the job. So.
And Curry, what about yourself? You feel you're ready on day one to move in there and kind of be capable of what you have to do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I've been reading some pretty hefty manuals. I know a lot of folks down at the city, and I kind of know how folks interact. And I am definitely really excited to be part of the team because I love what each and every one of them does there. So within the clerk capacity, I'm really excited to present what I can and, show them what I can add to the city team as well. So definitely feeling prepared, definitely excited about it.
I'm not sure if the city council, would you expect to go regularly attend city council meetings, for example? I'm not sure the council expects you to, but is that something you think you'd do, or hard to say ahead of time?
Yeah, I believe I'll be at these meetings and taking the minutes for the meetings and such. So, if I were to be elected, I think I would definitely be a part of it. I do have a class that night, but I think my professor teaches or works in local government, so he would understand one Monday a month.
And so again, you don't see that interfering with the job at all.
No, it's a professional degree, so a lot of us are working full time. So I think it's a great way to use what I'm learning literally every day when I go into the office.
Yeah. And Asia, if you're elected, would you see yourself as kind of part of the City Hall team? Would you like to be involved in other aspects of city government?
Absolutely, as much as I can be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. How, in terms of training, if whoever gets elected, are there good training opportunities out there? Do you know, is that anything you've looked into? I mean, you kind of you're in a new position, but Korea, there are some assets, resources out there that can help you. Presumably the folks in office would, but have you looked into that at all?
Yes, so the Secretary of State office website has a ton of information. Everything in local government, we have to follow a lot of statutes. So, the state and local mix there, they provide a lot of linkage. The Vermont League of Cities and Towns, they do I think they do some trainings. So yeah, so they have that, and I do plan on staying in touch with, Sue Krupp and, kind of asking for guidance if ever she's around.
Asia, what about yourself? Have you thought about that? If you do get elected, if there are training opportunities or people you can, of course, again, you have your mother obviously and Ann in the town as resources.
Yep. I think like the Vermont League of the Cities and Towns, they have a very large amount of resources available online, and it's just like it's a little community. All of the town clerks kind of bounce ideas off each other, and they kind of solve things together. So you're never really alone. There's just somebody in the next town over doing the same thing, basically, that you can get their advice and guidance and opinion.
Corey, what about the job? Talk about the office. Obviously, you've given this a fair amount of attention. The office of City Clerk Treasurer. What do you see as the most important parts of the office and of your job if you're elected?
I definitely think interacting with the public. I think that there's a lot of traffic that comes through that front door, and the way it's situated, the clerk's office is right there. I think that is really the heart of it, because it creates that connection, that solidarity between the public and local government, where, without, making it too lofty, I think that people really just have an issue. They want it to be solved as soon as possible. And sometimes they have, requests, as you mentioned, research and things like that. People really, the public records laws, we have to be able to provide as much as we can to the public and still abide by these laws that are, in statutes. So being of the utmost assistance to people and really being an ambassador for the city itself I think that's the most important part of the job.
And I saw you made a reference to that on your flyer. And can you be more specific about that, your ambassadorship or whatever? Yeah.
I mean, I like that word because I think that we all are ambassadors of the town or of the city when we're, walking through the neighborhood, being polite, being proactive. And I think the city really seems to me to represent a lot of forward growth, forward development, and really maintaining inclusivity. And so I think that through my experiences working with some of the population of the city and my experiences with leadership and community in other aspects of my life, I think that that is something that St. Albans represents to me. It's why I moved here specifically, and you know, you can see it very much all around you, right down in the, you know, Taylor Park, and I think that is a great way to represent, you know, the city.
Asia, any thoughts on that? Just kind of doing the job, key parts of the job, interacting with the public. Is that a...
Definitely think providing the best customer service. They're your customers,
Yeah.
you know, making sure everything's available, you're there for assistance if you're needed. The record keeping is extremely important part of the job, and just being that friendly face that people can count on when they go in, and being available.
I realize you're not in the job at this point. Any change, so it may be a question you can't really deal with, but any changes you'd like to make in the office and how it functions? And I realize that may be tough to answer. You're not there at this point, but Curry, any thoughts? I don't know. Should the office, should folks be more, you know, interacting with the public, which you mentioned, or is that again hard to get into at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll be learning a lot, you know, from a lot of other city clerks, you know, a lot of people at City Hall itself. I think one thing that I'm really interested in as far as archivism goes is, you know, digitizing records. I think that is really something that could be exciting. You know, that accessibility is, you know, I mean, that changes a lot. I'm not sure if they have plans to do that. It could happen. I know that the state will be getting those vital records, birth certificates, things like that. So I know that there's going to be some transition there. And I know from my experience, you know, when it comes to anything like my Social Security, my birth certificate, I get very anxious, and I want to make sure it's in the right place and I can get it when I need it. So, but yeah, I think that, you know, kind of modernizing it, finding ways to be really proactive and involved, I think that could be exciting. But again, it's really about the core of the position, maintaining the records, providing the access. I think that that's still really a strong core of the position. Yeah,
again, Asia, realizing obviously you don't have the position yet, but as you think about it, any changes or anything you'd particularly like to focus on if you do get elected?
I don't know it well enough.
Yeah, I realize that.
Yeah, I'd have to jump in and see. The modernizing technology is that should be one of the forefronts of the
Do you hear many people? Do you hear either praise or any complaints about the city clerk's office? Do you hear many comments about it?
I don't really interact with people that go in there. A lot of my friends are from out of town, so I've never heard anything really. Yeah.
Curry, what about yourself? Do you hear any pro or con comments about the functioning of the office?
Well, you know, I can't really say pro or con wise, but I will say how surprised I am at how many people have gone to the clerk's office and have interacted. I feel like it's one of those things that, you know, you encounter once or twice in your lifetime, or, you know, but every person I've talked to, they're like, oh yeah, I've gone there. And it just seems like something that's kind of commonplace. And I think that maybe because of its location or history, people really use that office as a front line for information, even though they could maybe call somewhere else or use a different directory or online. I think they may be using that as an information source, but I don't know. It just seems like everyone has been there that I've spoken to.
You hear the word transparency a lot. I think you might have mentioned it yourself. Would you like to see the office, and again, I'm realizing you're not there at this point, you think the office should be more transparent? Do you think there are more things it can do to make it more transparent, perhaps?
Well, you know, again, I think I would have to really see the inner workings of it. I have an idea of how things go a little bit, but you know, as far as that'll be an assessment when I get in there, hopefully. But I think that there can always be a little bit more accessibility. I think the city has a great website. I think that there may be a place there for some interaction. I don't know. But I think there's always a way to make information available in a way.
Asia, any thoughts on the transparency issue? Again, realizing you're not in office at this point, but
I just think that that's very important in any, even just general business. Things need to be transparent. People need to know what's going on. So any way to make that easier or more common, you know, I don't know really how it works yet. So I think it should definitely be transparent.
There was a vote, we talked about this off here just a little bit, there was a vote in St. Albans City, I guess within the last 10 years or so, there was some folks at City Hall thought this position, city clerk treasurer, should be an appointive rather than elective position, and it was put to a vote. And as I recall, it was very decisive approval for keeping it an elected office. You folks are both running for this office. In general, aside from your own candidacies, Curry, you think electing this person to this office is a better way to go than appointing a person?
Well, I think, especially as far as city clerk is concerned, it is, two positions in a sense, clerk and treasurer. Yeah. I think especially as far as city clerk is concerned, having it be an elected position is very important because I really have to represent the public. The clerk has to represent, the public and be accountable to them. And so I think that elected process really solidifies that a bit. As far as, treasurer, I think the same could be said about that actually, but I know some towns have transitioned into a different way. St. Albans is a big enough city department where they do have, finance and accounting separate. But I think having the accountability to the public in both of those capacities, I think is important for accountability.
Yeah. Asia, if you, again, is continuing to elect people to this office, is that a better way to go than appointing people, or?
I do feel it, again, is the most transparent way to go with the whole process, because you are representing the city, you're in charge of many important things, and you need to have fair representation, I believe, for somebody in that position. So electing someone is the most accurate way to go about that, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And again, we're talking two positions here, two very important and certainly, pretty different positions. Are you more comfortable, are you reasonably comfortable with both the clerk and treasurer positions, or more so with one than the other, Curry?
Well, I definitely feel really strong about the clerk and really excited about treasurer. When I'm taking this class in local government administration, I'm working on, property taxes and doing all these problems and things like that. And I do have history in real estate, so I know the language, and I think that I'm really strong with both, but I have a little bit more to learn about how the city's finances are handled and that whole process. But I think that, learning with the team, that I'll be able to pick that up quite quickly, and I think they're a really supportive group over there. So, yeah.
Asia, what about yourself? Clerk, treasurer, I think you feel you can handle both? You're more comfortable with one than the other?
With my accounting background, I think I'm more comfortable in the treasurer position, honestly. I did take local government accounting classes when I attended college, so I have a little bit of exposure to how that all works. There's special laws you have to follow when you're in local government, so but the clerk, I'm excited for the opportunity to open my avenues a little bit, aside from just money works, like the clerical stuff and being the face of the town, basically, or the city. So
I guess as I think about it, I'm not sure you've even thought about this for a while. Of course, it's two separate positions. It's conceivable that one of you could be elected to one position, the other to the other. I'm not aware that's right. We're talking two separate votes. I've got the ballot right in front of me here. Not even sure I thought about that before. Nope. in some towns in Franklin County, there are separate, clerk, different people serving as clerk and treasurer. Obviously, as both of you candidates want to win both positions, but it's interesting. That's conceivable that could happen, but we'll see. Of course, running elections, a very important part of the job. Curry, concern, I mean, you just hear so much concern, understandable concern about low voter turnout. Any great ideas about how to kind of get that trend going the other way? Yeah,
I think you can only go by what you're seeing and feeling about public opinion, but, I think on one hand, people are, they're a little disheartened, and they're just kind of like, well, why should I do this? And other people are like, they're so fired up, they want to get out there and make a change. I know I'm really pumped to run elections. I think that would be one of the, I know it's stressful, but I think I'd have such a great time. I love organizing events. I really love when the city gets together. I think that elections are a great way to take a break from your workday. I think they're a great way to feel like you've contributed to the town. And they're really really important. You see it all the time in the news with, you know, tampered with elections, things like that. And it's a very, very important position. You have to be really, really on top of that and really show the town that that is really important to you. So even if it's a smaller election, that's something that I would take a lot of pride in running.
Yeah. So again, Asia, kind of administering elections, obviously a very important, visible part of the job on election day. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on, again, the voter turnout? Just it seems like, again, we've got town meeting day coming up in, again, St. Albans City and elsewhere, Tuesday, March 6th, and boy, the turnout, I'm guessing, I don't know, we might see, well, of course, the contested race, your contested race will help turnout, but geez, at quick glance, I'd be surprised if maybe 1/4 of the registered voters in St. Albans City. I can't imagine more than 1/3, and that might be even high. That kind of just discouraging that trend these days?
A little bit. I think it's going to start turning around. I think creating more of a buzz for that event, placing the importance on it. Everybody loves to vote in the presidential election, but the local ones don't seem to get as much attention. So I think if we just maybe publicize it a little bit, maybe do something to encourage absentee ballots if that's the reason why, just really getting the word out there and making people aware of how important local elections really are.
Well, obviously, with your candidacy, your friends presumably will get out and vote if they live in St. Albans City. And I'm sure you have a ton of friends in St. Albans City, but for your friends locally, if you weren't running, do you think, especially your younger friends, would they have even been aware, do you think, of town meeting day, the annual
Probably about
meeting?
Half of them, honestly.
Yeah? Oh.
So I do have a lot of friends that are involved in community groups. I don't, you know, so they are more interested in this than other people typically, probably.
Yeah. Curry, what about yourself? I mean, you're running, so presumably your friends will take, you know, particular note of March 6th, but without you running, would a lot of your younger friends, again, town meeting day, does it mean much to them, do you think?
I think it could mean more to them. I think that, you know, the younger voters, you know, don't go to the local elections as much as they do to the national ones. I think, again, that might be changing a little bit. You know, I think with social media, people wanting to desperately try to enact some kind of change or be a part of some kind of change, go to a march, you know, go do this, do that. And, you know, I think local elections may be, you know, the next step. But yeah, I think also I didn't really know a lot of it, you know, a couple years ago. Like, I wouldn't have known to go vote on a local election day. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of work to be done there for sure. But, you know, that's something I would definitely look forward to doing if I were elected, is getting that word out there.
Yeah. St. Albans City, of course, the biggest place, biggest community, municipality in Franklin County, population maybe 7,300 or so. The budget coming up before voters on town meeting day, you know, pretty significant budget, about what, $8.5 million or so, over $8 million. Is that intimidating? It's a pretty big number. It's a pretty,
it's a lot of zeros.
It's a pretty, you know, big city government. Is that intimidating at all, Asia, or not particularly to you?
I wouldn't say intimidating. I look at it as a challenge. It'd be something to really try to excel in. I have confidence I'd be able to do it with the numbers in my background and everything. So I look at it as a challenge.
Yeah, Korea, I suspect you're going to tell me you're not intimidated by this.
You know, I'm not. You know, I find it fascinating seeing big numbers like that and then seeing where it's broken down into, and how once you kind of dissolve that, you see how and when and where it works, and all of a sudden it's not so intimidating. It's more of kind of a management process. I've been around some big numbers before in commercial real estate. So I just really look forward to, again, kind of absorbing and learning from the people who are working in their finances right now, and really gaining a little bit of extra knowledge there.
Sounds like a good wrap up, Asia. You want the last word? Again, running for city clerk treasurer. Again, jobs you're looking forward to and feel you can handle if you're so elected, huh?
Absolutely. I do feel like I can handle it. I've got a strong background in accounting and customer service, so I really think that I'll be able to do it well.
Anyway, hey, well, I want to wish you both luck. We certainly appreciate you coming on the set for the show, and just hope we have a fairly decent turnout again, folks. March 6th, and you can vote. Don't have to wait till then. You can vote ahead of time, obviously. But again, we have a contested race for city clerk and treasurer. 2 candidates, Asia Roque and Curry Galloway. But thanks for the time. Good luck on March 6th.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, folks. Thanks to Sarah and Zach for doing all the hard work. And again, folks, try to give some attention to the annual city meeting, town meeting day. Thanks for watching us here on Northwest Access TV. I'm Richard Cobrathwaite. So long. We'll see you.